My wife's sister tried to kiss me and now my wife is devastated. Sorry for the length of this. As the title says, my wife's sister made a pass at me at a recent family gathering and I have no idea what to do. To give some context, I think my wife Jen is absolutely beautiful, but she has very negative body image issues. This is largely due to her sister Mary, who is conventionally very attractive, unlike Jen's more unconventional and striking beauty. Mary was a successful model until a couple of years ago and now works in the fashion industry. In the early days of our relationship, whenever I told Jen she was beautiful, she would always respond, "Oh, wait until you see my sister." When I finally met her family, Jen pressured me for weeks to talk about her sister, asking if I thought she was more attractive, etc. I always told the truth, that I think Mary is attractive in a boring way, and I believe my wife is much more beautiful and interesting to look at. She wouldn't let it go until I confronted her about how uncomfortable it made me feel and asked what was going on. That was when she told me she had always had a complex about her appearance due to comparisons with her sister. They grew up in the classic dynamic of the smart one and the pretty one. She also said that Mary had a habit of flirting with all her exes and warned me that it would eventually happen to me. She then started crying and begging me not to cheat on her with her sister, to which I emphatically responded that I would never cheat on her with anyone, let alone her sister. I've been crazy about my wife since day one, and literally, no woman on earth comes close to her. Honestly, at first, I didn't believe her about the flirting. I assumed it was just an extension of her insecurity, but I was wrong. Whenever we meet up with my wife's family, Mary always finds ways to touch me and make little suggestive comments about me or my body. It's very uncomfortable for everyone, especially my wife, and I have called her out on it. She calms down for a while but eventually does it again. It has been 6 years of this, and every time it happens, my wife is upset for days, and I have to do a lot to reassure her. Now to the current problem. A few days ago, we were at my mother-in-law's birthday party, and Mary asked me to help her pick up some things from the garage. As soon as we entered the garage, she turned and pressed me against the door with her whole body and started trying to kiss me. I immediately pushed her away and asked what the hell she was doing. She started laughing and saying she was just doing what we both had been thinking and kept insisting, "You know you want it." I told her she was crazy and ran out of there. I went straight to my wife and told her we were leaving. On the way home, she kept asking what was wrong. I wasn't sure, but I decided to tell her because I knew how much it would hurt her, but I also thought that Mary would probably try to spin it as if I had made a move on her, so I knew I had to tell her. I told her everything and she cried all the way home. For the past few days, Mary has been calling and texting my wife, doing exactly what I thought she would do, even telling my wife that I said Mary was the sexiest girl I had ever seen, which I had to assure my wife a million times that I never said and would never say. Although she believes my side of the story, she has been completely devastated for the past few days. She barely eats, shies away from my touch when I try to hug her or just hold her hand, and says she feels horrible and repulsive. I don't know what to do. This is the lowest I've ever seen her, and it hurts to see how much she's suffering. I have no idea what to do to help her heal from this. Reddit, what should I do? Update. I received some requests for updates, so here it is. First, I want to thank everyone for their advice. It was extremely helpful and gave me a lot to think about. I'm especially grateful to the people who asked how I was doing. I realized I never had the opportunity to check in with myself after these things happened, and I've been building up a lot of frustration and resentment over all of this. I've been harassed for years, and it's been ignored or overshadowed by the impact it has on my wife. I don't blame her for it, but this has been a good lesson for me about not burying my feelings for the sake of others, even for her. I also want to clarify a couple of things that came up. Several people asked how my wife's family feels about all of this, and I explained in a comment that her parents are toxic and treat Mary like the golden child despite my wife being a damn neuroscientist, an incredibly talented musician, speaking 3 languages fluently and 2 others conversationally. My wife and her family are seriously the only people who don't seem to understand how exceptional she is. I remember meeting one of my wife's family friends and talking to them about her research, and they said, "Go wow, her parents just told us she works at a university," while my parents literally introduce her as the genius of the family to everyone. It makes me so angry to think about how her idiot family has dimmed her shine her entire life. She's literally a Renaissance woman, but to all of them, it's only looks and money that matter. Some people asked why I would ever put myself in a situation alone with Mary, given everything she's done. I don't have good answers for that, other than that I never thought she would actually try to do something. That possibility simply didn't exist in my head. Now I realize I should have seen this coming eventually and should have worried less about keeping the peace and more about stopping Mary's nonsense before it escalated to this point. Hindsight is 20/20. Anyway, to the update, the night I posted, I told my wife that if she wanted to try to repair her relationship with her sister, I would respect that, but I didn't feel comfortable being around her for the foreseeable future. I told her that Mary had obviously been deeply jealous of her all her life because she is an empty, ugly person whose worth has an expiration date, whereas my wife actually has substance. I told her that I believe her whole family is toxic and has done nothing but tear her down her entire life, but only she can decide if she still wants them in her life. I also told my wife that although I don't blame her for her emotional reaction, her insecurity is something she needs to work on for our relationship to be healthy. What Mary did was sexual assault, and she has been sexually harassing me for years, but I have consistently put my own feelings about this problem aside because of how it affects her, and that has prevented me from getting the support I also need. I told her that her reaction only serves to punish both of us for her sister's behavior and that there is no reason to give her that kind of power. I also told her something that a commenter said that really resonated with me: the only people who have ever considered her second best are her and her family. Everyone else sees her for who she really is. She was crying the whole time and agreed that she needed to go to therapy to work on her insecurity. We were able to find a therapist who specializes in body image and self-esteem issues to work with her individually, and we are looking for a couples therapist as well. My wife sent a message to her parents and sister explaining exactly what happened and told them she would reach out to them if she ever feels ready to repair their relationship. We blocked them everywhere, but of course, Mary has been spamming my family and friends with nonsense, claiming that I attacked her, that I'm a drug addict, that I abuse my wife, all kinds of nonsense that fortunately no one believes. My wife is still down, but I can see things getting a little better. She's eating and sleeping more, and she's hugging me again in the mornings, which is nice. Now I'm planning a surprise getaway for us this weekend. We're going to one of our favorite places, and I'm going to pamper her and try to make her feel like the queen she is. I want to thank everyone again for their help. You really helped me understand the severity of the problem, and again, thank you for helping me connect with my own feelings about all of this. You are the best. Update 2. I guess my original posts got reposted on TikTok and other subreddits here on Reddit, so I've been getting tons of messages asking for updates. I feel like things are mostly resolved, and I really hope this is my last update. First, I want to say that I've received a lot of questions about who Mary is, and I'm just not going to say. Suffice it to say that she was never household famous, but she made a living exclusively from modeling for about a decade, so she must have been popular enough for people in the fashion world to know her. I really don't know how that whole world works, but in my opinion, it doesn't matter how many names you drop, you're not famous if you don't have a Wikipedia page. I also received a lot of comments that mostly jokingly called me a simp, and I can't argue with that. I am totally a simp for my wife. She is the best. I hope everyone finds a love that makes them feel this good. I think that's all. Here's the actual update. My wife loved the weekend getaway. We had a lot of fun, and by the end of it, she was feeling like herself again. For a few days after we got back, things were very quiet, so we hoped that Mary had finally given up. But I felt uneasy about it. Many of you warned me that Mary would try to interfere with my job, and although I initially dismissed it, I decided to contact my boss just in case. I've worked at the same company for almost 10 years, and she's heard me vent about Mary before, so I didn't have to explain too much. My boss simply assured me that she knows my true character and would let me know if Mary tried anything. As predicted, Mary tried to contact my boss a couple of days later. Here's a recount of what my boss told me. Apparently, Mary said I needed to be fired because I was a predator and claimed to have evidence that I assaulted her. My boss said that was a very serious accusation and asked Mary what evidence she had. Mary claimed there was a camera that caught the whole incident, and my boss asked her to send the video. Then Mary got nervous and said the police had it, so my boss asked her to send a copy of the police report. Then Mary said it had a lot of private information, so my boss asked her to redact the private information and send it. Then Mary said she didn't feel comfortable with that, and my boss told her she couldn't take action against an employee based on the testimony of a stranger. Then Mary yelled about victim blaming and hung up. Unfortunately, that wasn't the end. Last Wednesday, Mary somehow sent an email from my personal email account with a picture of a penis, obviously not mine, to the entire office. My best guess is that I must have left my email logged in on one of my in-laws' devices. She is definitely not smart enough to hack me, and I know this is completely out of place, but of course, she chose the weirdest looking penis I have ever seen. I've played team sports my whole life. I've seen a lot of penises, and this one was something else. It's honestly kind of funny to think about Mary Googling a gross penis or something and scrolling through hundreds of images to find the right one. I had to apologize to everyone in the office, and fortunately, people were surprisingly understanding. It actually has been a kind of good bonding experience with my coworkers. Honestly, I didn't consider myself very well liked in the office, but it seems like everyone has made an effort to be kind to me, and it means a lot. Anyway, at this point, it was clear we had to escalate things legally. I really wanted to avoid it, but she forced my hand. My wife and I have a lawyer friend who helped us draft a cease and desist letter describing her continued harassment and the material and emotional harm it is causing us. My wife then sent a message to Mary and my in-laws with a copy of the letter and made it very clear that we would take legal action if her harassment continued. My wife's mother then called her crying and begged her to let it go and leave Mary alone. My wife calmly explained that Mary is the only person responsible for this entire situation and that her parents have always enabled her horrible behavior. She also said something she later regretted but that I thought was pretty impressive. Mary is going to put you in a nursing home and steal your money as soon as she gets the chance, and you deserve it. After her mother's reaction, my wife is firmly resolved to completely cut ties with her family. This happened on Friday, and on Sunday, Mary's best friend and messaged my brother on Facebook to say that Mary will leave us alone and to please not sue her. I told my brother not to respond and then just enjoyed the idea that Mary was somewhere scared about the possibility of actually facing the consequences of her actions. Since then, we haven't heard anything through the grapevine, and it seems like things are finally starting to get back to normal. My wife will start therapy next week, and we'll start couples therapy in a month or two. She wants to do some work on herself first. She's also taking a short leave from work to rest and recharge. I'm so proud of her for standing up to her family and finally putting her mental health and well-being first. Thanks again to everyone who offered advice. This was a messy situation, but it definitely would have been messier without your help. Update 3. I completely forgot about this account until today and logged in to see so many comments and messages asking for an update. It's honestly heartwarming to see how many people care about this situation and wish the best for my wife and me. This will be a brief update as I don't want to make this a regular thing, and the original situation has resolved enough that I hope this is the end of the saga. Mary and my in-laws have pretty much left us alone. My mother-in-law still tries to contact my wife occasionally, but she has made it clear to her family that if the first words out of their mouth are not, "I'm sorry," she's not interested in a conversation. As you can see, the past 6 months have made my wife an incredibly strong person. She has done an amazing job in therapy, and her confidence is growing all the time. Not just with her family, but she feels more comfortable asserting herself at work, with strangers, with friends, etc. She even stopped putting up with some of my nonsense. To be fair, that nonsense is things like leaving my socks all over the house, but I am seriously proud of her for telling me to cut it out. I'm becoming a more responsible and supportive partner because she can communicate her needs and expectations without feeling guilty about it, and I can communicate things to her without intense emotions overshadowing the conversation. I didn't mention this in my previous posts, but my wife struggles with rejection sensitivity even outside of her family. Often, if I brought up something I felt needed to change, her emotional reaction to feeling like she did something wrong was very intense, and instead of addressing the issue, it was about regulating her emotions. Now my wife has great coping tools that allow her to talk about the problem without thinking she is the problem. And the biggest update, she's pregnant. We're having a girl, due in February. I am so excited. We're going to love her so much and teach her that she's more than her beauty. She's going to have happy parents who love each other and work through problems as a team. The toxic cycle will be broken. Jen's family doesn't know, and she's not sure if or when she will tell them, but if she does, there will be clear boundaries about how they can be part of our daughter's life, starting with family therapy. For now, she has a set of grandparents who would go to the ends of the earth for her, and that's more than enough. My family has been amazing in their support and are very excited for us. Things are looking better than ever. That's all, folks. Thanks again for your support on this wild journey. Update 4. Hi everyone. I've come here for advice before, and everyone was incredibly helpful, and I could really use your support again. You can check my post history for the full story, but in summary, last year, my wife Jen and I had to make the decision to cut contact with her entire family. Her sister Mary sexually assaulted me, her in-laws defended her, and after some legal disputes, they finally left us alone. The situation destroyed my wife's self-esteem and tested our relationship, but we got through it. Jen and I had our first daughter in February. She is amazing and we are doing great. We ended up moving from Jen's home state of New York to mine, Massachusetts, to be closer to my family, and they have been incredibly helpful with the baby. We haven't seen Jen's family since we cut contact and blocked them everywhere, and we didn't tell them about the baby. Yesterday, we received a letter in the mail from my father-in-law and mother-in-law with no idea how they got our address. Apparently, my father-in-law has been diagnosed with late-stage cancer and is being told he could die in weeks. My in-laws apologized for how they handled the situation with Mary. They also apologized for how they treated my wife her entire life. They ended by saying they recently found out about the baby through rumors and want to meet their grandchild. To me, the apology seemed genuine. They went into detail about what they did wrong, apologized, expressed remorse, and explained what they should have done differently. They said they hope to earn our forgiveness over time and are willing to do family therapy to heal our relationship. Jen isn't having it. She feels it's too little, too late, and doesn't want to respond. She also suspects they might be lying about my father-in-law's cancer and just want to pressure us into reconciliation to meet the baby. It seems ridiculous, but I guess I wouldn't put it past them. I want to respect my wife's feelings about this, but I'm concerned that if the cancer is real, she might regret not taking this opportunity for reconciliation before he dies. I expressed this to her, but she is firm and I haven't brought it up again since. My instinct is to wait a few more days until the shock wears off to talk about it again. I just don't know the best way to approach this. I certainly don't want to force my wife to do anything she doesn't want to do, but I feel like she's not thinking clearly about this right now. It should also be noted that our baby is still struggling with sleep and we're both tired and emotional all the time, so I feel like this might be influencing how she feels about all of this. What should I do here? Should I try again or just let it be? Edit, people, stop being mean to me. I'm tired and emotional too, and my feelings are getting hurt. I'm not forcing my wife to do anything. I mentioned it once. I know this isn't about me. Personally, I don't care one way or the other, I just want to support my wife. I intend to tell her that I'm here to listen and talk about this if she wants to, but I fully support her decisions about it. She has a great therapist she trusts, and I'll be here to support her as much as I can.